I don't want to be in here anymore. I want to, like, find a hole in the hedge.
So if we go back, we're going to end up back at that bridge right next to the centre. What do we do then? Which way?
Ask somebody in the centre which way to go.
We tried that, they wouldn't tell us.
Yeah.
I said we keep going back that way.
Well, if you want to do that, but don't get frustrated with me if, like, it's not the right way.
You're getting agitated, aren't
I
you?
am, yeah. I'm getting really sick of this. I just want to go in the cafe and have a cup of tea.
It's often said that men don't ask for directions. And it's interesting when you consider the kinds of fights and the frustrations that can be created. And I believe it's, of course, that the so-called male ego could have something to do with this. He doesn't want to admit that he's lost, and so he refrains from asking for directions because that seems unmanly to him. But I'm fairly confident that that can't be the whole story. I think, in fact, if we find that men and women on average have these two different navigating styles, the route and the survey, then there can be situations where neither the man nor the woman knows exactly which turn to take. Neither knows exactly which street to take. The woman feels that they're quite disoriented, they're lost, and they need help. The man, if he is good at survey style of reasoning, he doesn't know the exact road, just like his wife doesn't, but he feels he knows in which direction. He has some sense of which way he needs to go. So he doesn't feel disoriented. He simply thinks, well, I'm not lost because I know if I keep going in that direction, I'll get there eventually and we'll recognize what we're looking for. So he doesn't think they're lost. She thinks they're lost. You've got a classic conflict situation there.
City streets offer endless possibilities for getting lost, especially in a city like London, with 7 million people navigating kilometers of narrow, twisting roads originally designed for horse and cart. Fortunately, London also has 22,000 experts to help us get around.
Most people do it in about 3 years.
Well, the research on taxi cab drivers seems to show that their knowledge of the cities, which is expert knowledge by any definition of the term, is based on something we call route knowledge, which is the building up of a lot of information about how to get from one place to another place.
Well, when someone asks me for a place, say Victoria Station, it comes instantly into my mind. I get a picture of Victoria Station, I know where that is, and from that I then decide which way I'm going to go. If we say Piccadilly, leave by the Haymarket, turn right into Pall Mall, left into Marlborough Gate, right into the Mall, comply Queen Victoria Memorial, turn right, Birdcage Walk, forward Buckingham Palace Road, left Bressenden Place, right Victoria Street, left Vauxhall Bridge Road, right Neath House Place, right Wilton Road, and drop it down on the left.
Their expertise is similar to the expertise of all expert navigators, regardless of the culture, such as the islanders in the Pacific Ocean. They can get into their little boat and travel 500 miles and hit a little island no bigger than this room and rarely miss it. And they use very subtle cues in the ocean, in the stars, which they have built up over years from navigating. They can get from one island to the next, point A to point B, very similar fashion to that cab driver in London who can get you from Soho to the Tower of London in the quickest amount of time, avoiding the most amount of traffic.
We have road signs, we have odometers, we have cartographic maps, we have all sorts of technological devices in our designed environment. We've basically gotten to a situation in our so-called civilized or technologically developed cultures where we don't need to pay attention to the signs that are out there. We could do it, we can learn to do it, and if we bothered to pay attention, we could notice these things too. We just don't need to.
The forest presents its own challenges. Like most of Canada, Nova Scotia is sparsely populated. Forest covers 80% of the province. It has been called the lost person capital of North America. Per capita, more people go missing here than anywhere else.
We have a lot of people in the woods that are very difficult to navigate, weather that's very unpredictable. As it's been described to me, we have many small trees very close together, which makes for visibility, and vision is our primary method of navigation. And if we can't see very far, then we're in trouble. We also have the way our communities are usually situated. Everybody has access to the woods. In fact, the point last seen is typically the backyard of the lost subject, missing person.
To a child, the backyard is comforting, but confining. 7 years ago, Leanne Domino and Ricky Chambers left the yard behind and strayed a few steps too far from home.
That's all we did. We just doesn't seem quite as exciting now as it did when we were young, but that's all we were doing.
That's what we were doing right there. Once I realized I was lost, I started panicking, but then it was just like, we gotta find a way out, because nobody knows we're here. So we started walking around, doing circles, and finally it was just too dark to walk. We couldn't walk no more.
I was crying the whole time. He tried calming me down. We didn't really talk. We just figured that, hoping that people will find us.
We were so cold that we just couldn't walk no more. It got to the point that we were just like, we're useless. Like, this is where we're at until we're being found.
Children will be able to verbalize very little about their experience, especially younger children under 12 years of age. It's such a frightening experience for them. They are completely panicked and in shock in a real sense, such that later they're able to articulate very little about the experience that they had. I have learned a lot though from talking to children. I talked to one child, a small child, and when I asked him what kinds of scary things he saw in the night, he said he saw giants with one eye walking around, moaning his name. And of course, these were searchers with headlamps calling his name out in the middle of the night. And I thought, it's no wonder that small children never respond to people calling their name, to searchers calling their names in the woods. And this is true for a lot of older children as well. It's a very frightening experience for them.
I heard dogs, but I assumed that it would have been coyotes. I never suspected that they'd bring in search dogs for me. So as they were bringing in search dogs, I heard them and I just tried to run away farther and farther. Just, again, didn't want to see coyotes or anything like that.
This is Bradley Woodbury when he was 15, after 3 days lost in dense woods.
First feeling I had was a sudden urge, and like an adrenaline rush to just start running, breaking things, trying to just get a rage out of my system. My heart started beating really fast, and I just felt like I had a lot of strength and that I could do anything.
Wood shock is something that is just a term for a certain kind of fear, a very unique fear. I think has very little similarity to any other kind of fear that's ever been studied. It's a fear associated with complete loss of spatial orientation. None of the rational abilities that they had before being lost are useful to them anymore because they are essentially in a panic state. It's not something that happens to somebody immediately. It takes some period of time for that to creep up onto somebody. At first, it's a sense of disorientation. Uh-oh, I don't know where I am, you know. I'm not in Kansas anymore. I better hurry up and find my place and find the road or find the car, find the direction out. And then the woods starts to become strange to them. Places that they have passed, landmarks that they have passed and noticed are no longer familiar to them.
I was full of blisters, my feet were really sore, I was full of bugs, and then it just seemed like every time you turned around, it was just like a cartoon, bugs just swarming in your face all around. I have to say my body was pretty much ready to shut down, but the adrenaline just kept me going.
I figured that I would wake up Monday morning and I would be around, but I wasn't betting too much on Tuesday. Then I figured that, because I knew I was getting more tired, I was cold, I was wet, because it had rained so much, and I knew that my time was starting to run out.
Bill Antle is lucky. 30 years ago, he spent 5 freezing November nights in the Cape Breton woods and lost only 5 toes to frostbite. It's a miracle that he was found 15 kilometers from where he began.
The hardest thing, I believe, is to admit that you got lost. Because until you do that, you know, like, there's certain things you should do when you get lost, and you don't do them if you don't think you're lost. You just kind of keep moving and traveling, and a lot of times you're going further away from where you were, and makes it harder for people to find you.
Nobody knew where we were. Nobody had any idea where we were. I mean, if we'd have stopped and stayed where we were, we could have been there for days. And in our minds, it was still, I mean, you look across this stream, and there the path continues on the other side of the stream. So it was still in our minds, if we kept going, we would get out. We'd walk out somewhere.
Trish Wilson and Paula Goldrick took their dogs for a walk. Mistaking an old road for a shortcut, they wandered 18 kilometers through a maze of trails before being rescued.
Looking down that path kind of brings some memories back, that's for sure. Feel a lot safer walking the other way, back out towards the road.
I have no desire to go back in there, none. I don't know if that's for today or forever. Like, I've always enjoyed the woods, but I realize that they can be a lot more dangerous than you think.
This is what the experience of loss, being lost, does to you. It makes you afraid. And when you're afraid, you cannot solve problems. You can't solve any sort of complex problem at all. You can't remember the simplest things about which direction did I turn at that last intersection. This is why we advise people who become lost. First thing you should do, sit down, calm yourself, get your arousal level down, and think about the best way to get out of this situation.
If you can't make your way out, a team like Halifax Regional Search and Rescue will do their best to find you. Disciplined, well-trained volunteers, they don't just pour into the woods. Instead, they use scientific tools like probability theory and analysis of lost person behavior, along with expert tracking skills they've gained through years of personal experience in the bush. Tonight, they're on the trail of 3 missing hunters.
So what I would suggest we do is send a team back, move them up here, and we'll just do some sign
Mike
cutting.
Murray spends his days as a museum director and about 10 nights a year as a key member of this search management team. It's up to Mike to determine the best places to look.
The objectives right now are to determine direction of travel, so sign cutting is what we need.
Okay, that's my next point.
When someone goes missing, the police are first on the scene. Once they're sure a search is needed, the volunteer team is called in. A search is an emergency. Speed is crucial to success. The team starts immediately, confining the search to the smallest possible area.
It's a lot easier for us to find and track somebody down who's not moving. And searching at night gives us that opportunity. It's a benefit for us. And that's one of the reasons why we specifically train into searching at night, because the lost subject is immobile.
A search is a classic mystery. To solve it, the team uses knowledge of past searches. The result is a series of behavioral profiles, telling them how far they can expect different lost subjects to travel. A November dawn breaks. It's bitterly cold, the first cold snap of the year. With daylight, the missing hunters may be on the move.
Here, this is where we found their cars, and that's we knew that they were there for lunch yesterday. From there, you can see these red circles, two of them here. 50% of the people lost were found in this area here.
Okay, that's Everett and Tony blowing the horn there. And
what we're looking for is not so much the lost person, but a number of clues that the lost person or people will leave, whether it be footprints, odor, skin, pieces of clothing, shotgun shells. We found a shotgun shell from a 410 shotgun. We know that one of the people lost had a 410.
I'll confirm flying of two subjects. We still have one, and I have information here from two gentlemen, and you can interview them as for where the gentleman is. The two gentlemen are fine, a little cold, a little hungry, but they're fine.
Two of the hunters did the smart thing. They found a cabin and stayed put. The third thought he could walk out of the woods himself. The search enters a whole new phase.
Put down where you think the last place you saw him was at 4:30 last night.
I'd say down in here.
Right in here. Okay, we're gonna just temporarily.
So was he closer to the guys who rode in or further away?
What equipment did he have with him? Did it pack with any stuff in it?
Yeah.
What?
A knapsack with, yeah, he might have had some food. I don't know if he did. He usually takes his lunch with him, so.
Okay, did you guys come back to your truck for lunch yesterday?
No way.
So you weren't, after you left the vehicle, you were not back to your truck?
Trance-like, lost people have walked right past searchers, crossed highways and backyards, convinced they're headed the right way. Some even hide or plunge ever deeper into the bush.
A little concerned now, it's 11 o'clock. We've got 6 hours of daylight. So we're positive now that is the find area. And now what we have to do is determine the direction of travel those people were going and where that cabin was. And that will give us enough clues to then try and determine where the other person was at 4:30 yesterday. So then we know that he was taking a course of 120 degrees magnetic at 4:30, and it may help us at least define the areas that we need to put more emphasis.
Was there any indication from any of our other members that they would be out later on today, or?
Time is critical. The potential search area becomes larger with each passing minute. Conditions are working in the lost man's favor. It's clear today, and he's wearing hunter orange, easily visible from a helicopter.
Halifax Base, Patrol 9.
Go ahead, Patrol 8, Halifax Base.
Okay, we have the individual, and he's on quite far down the middle road here. We're going to bring him back to base here. He seems
Identifying.
Confirmed. We're just talking to him.
All right, all right.
That was the most embarrassing moment of my life. And embarrassing and upsetting at the same time, because I had upset my my hunting buddies. It's our wives that took the brunt of all of this. My wife was sick probably for 2 or 3 days afterwards. the road, and I'll blow the horn. And I'll get a reading. I'll know exactly where you guys are at.
It's a science that works. It certainly works when you compare it to the old-fashioned way of looking for somebody, where you have what I call the posse method, you know, where you just send people off in different directions, and if you find them, bring them back. And we've also, of course, found where people didn't use a scientific approach to searching for lost people, that quite often that their system, whatever it is, may work for a while, but it's just a matter of time before they have a tragedy. Now, you could still have a tragedy applying a scientific approach, because people are so unpredictable sometimes, but the chances are quite reduced if you use good principles of search.
Back then, if we'd have had the search and rescue formed the way it is today, and with the knowledge we have and the caliber of people you have today, I would really and truly have to say I would have got out that night. It turned me on to search and rescue, and I felt obligated. I really did, and I still do today. I've been in it now for, well, 29 years pretty well.
I don't think you ever forget. I drive by that road still today, and every once in a while. And it's been 2 years or so for us, but it's like an anniversary in October. I remember, oh, this is when we were in the woods, or today isn't like the day that we were in the woods, you know. I don't think you ever forget that feeling.
When I got found on the third day in the woods, it was like it was like 500 pounds just fell off my shoulders. The helicopter guys got me in the helicopter, and I was so relieved. And then as soon as I stepped out of the helicopter, as soon as I got me back to the search area, and I seen my family again, they just came up and swarmed me. And it was just like a new beginning in my life. Before, I was taking a lot of stuff for granted, and now I know not to. Just, I gotta kind of live life to the fullest now. Just, you never know when you kind of, what's gonna happen the next day.
Yay! Thank God for that.
We've got to get back out again.
I know.
Work out your way back. I'm really pleased we didn't give up.
I know, I'm pleased we didn't give up.
Sorry.
It's all right.